Thank you for tuning in to another episode of StreamGeeks Live, the show where we talk about one thing and one thing only: live streaming. A high-definition broadcast brought to you by your hosts, the StreamGeeks, Paul Richards and Tess Protesto. Available via video on Facebook and YouTube Live, plus via audio on our podcast cast channels on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher Radio. StreamGeeks, the tech geek source for the latest in live streaming and video production. Let's get started.
I love those little streaming people.
They are
Welcome
fun.
everybody to episode 3 of StreamGeeks.
Our third episode, they're flying by.
Wow, already on the third episode.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are the StreamGeeks. My name is Tess Protesto.
And I'm Paul Richards. Thanks for being here.
Our show is here to share with you all the tips and tricks that we know about live streaming. We have multiple weekly live shows. Mm-hmm. And today's topic is going to be live streaming concerts.
Yeah, and we've actually gone out and live streamed some concerts recently, so we have some footage from that, and we're going to hopefully have a little free course on it. So if you're just picking up live streaming and you just want to learn how to live stream concerts, this is probably a great place to start. Mm-hmm. But I do plan on actually having a full course with many little bite chunks and quizzes and things.
Can we give it for free to our podcast listeners?
Yes, it will all be free on StreamGeeks.us.
All right, StreamGeeks.us. You'll be able to get that course.
So
Perfect.
What do we have lined up for today, Tess?
So we're going to go over all of our segments for this week. We've been doing the same segments every week. We might just keep them because I feel like they help with the flow of conversation. So why don't we just keep all the segments? Do you want to just start off talking a little bit about the concerts that we've done and kind of what goes into it?
Yeah, I've got a little playlist of some videos, clips that this is a concert we were streaming. Let me just play a little audio so you can hear how amazing this lady's voice was. If you really love
me. So for those of you listening on podcast, we live streamed a music festival. It was an outdoor event, sort of an all-day live streaming process, which, posed its own challenges.
Yeah, and the footage we're showing here is basically a guy and a girl who are a tag team solo acoustic thing, and we have the audio coming into our vMix live streaming system. You can see we've got like a joystick set up to control the cameras, and we've got a behind-the-scenes backstage camera, which I think really added a lot of cool stuff. So it was a really fun little show.
For this type of setup, we used three PTZ cameras that allowed us to transition between different shots of different band members, and there were multiple bands that day, so it was really important for us to set presets in between each band to sort of...
Oh my gosh, yes. Let's explain that process.
Right. Okay, so presets with live streaming concerts.
So when you live stream a concert, and I've actually, the course that I'm going to be teaching is it's going to be set up as in 3 years of live streaming concerts. And what each year things change significantly. I mean, things are changing every month in this industry. But it used to be, the way I would set it up is I'd bring a table, a little collapsible table you can buy at Walmart. I'd put my laptop or my streaming box on it, get power to it, and somehow get connections from the audio guy, which we'll talk about. And then I'd put 2 cameras on the left and right of that table, like kind of flanking the table. And that was kind of like my attack. A camera on the left, camera on the right. I could zoom them in if I needed to, and then fade between those two with hopefully a really good audio feed from the audio board. And that was basically the basics of what we got started with.
If we want to start talking about audio, that's going to lead us into one of our segments for the day, which is the helpful tool of the week. We can go ahead and play that clip.
All right, here we go.
And now it's time for the super tool of the week.
All right, so this week's helpful tool, super tool, is going to be the Focusrite.
Do we have that here in front of us? Or?
I don't think we do, and I should have thought about
that.
It's okay.
We should be able to explain, especially
the
for those watching the podcast. So the Focusrite...
Go ahead.
We've got actually 2... it's right there, but We'll
Yeah,
just grab another
forget it.
time. It's an XLR or quarter-inch audio input device that converts to USB.
Okay, so that
Right.
allows you to pull the soundboard's audio into a computer, essentially.
Yes.
So then you can grab that audio and put it into whatever streaming software or hardware you're using, and then put it out to your live stream.
Yeah, it really, in the software like vMix or Wirecast or OBS or whatever you're using, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about software in a future episode, but whatever software you're using, it comes up as a microphone, a USB mic. So if you
Easy
use
enough.
a USB mic like this little Blue Yeti or Snowball or whatever you're using, if Focusrite will come up, and the same with a lot of these other USB XLR mixers. The cool thing is you can plug in like 4 or 5 microphones, all this different stuff, and it just comes up as one mic in your system, so you can kind of tweak it with a little hardware to turn knobs up and down and get it just right.
Right, so that's as easy as it can be. XLR to Focusrite, Focusrite via USB to your computer.
Yeah, and the little XLR input's really cool because it's an XLR or a quarter-inch. So you kind of never know what people are going to throw at you. All these mixing boards are different. And a lot of times, like what we've done in the past is they'll give you either a left and a right channel. So here's a left and a right XLR possibly, or quarter-inch, which are the big, they like look like guitar cables. What I
So
always
this can
remember them.
accept both.
Yeah, you can put the quarter-inch right in the middle, or the XLR will fit in as well.
So the Focusrite is a great option to have if you're somebody that's going to be freelancing, streaming concerts, or somebody that does this every week to your church, performance.
And the Focusrite comes in a lot of different models. The model I think you were referring to is the 2i2
Yeah,
Scarlet.
that's what I have, the Scarlet.
And the 2i2 is powered over USB, which I love because when you get to streaming, and we had some issues with our last stream, just a little bit of audio issues, and I believe it was due to imbalancing of power, like having power strip on top of power strip on top of power strip.
Not a good idea.
So the more items that you can get that are USB powered, and you just get really secure power for your streaming computer, the better off you'll be, I believe.
So what goes into live streaming a concert is obviously going to be your cameras, the computer and the streaming software that you're using, and then something to pull audio into the streaming software.
That's the bare bones of it. And, you can go back on the PTZ Optics channel and you can see 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and then this year we have all the footage. We're actually going to show some today. Haven't had a chance to post everything yet. But every year, a little bit more, and I've learned a lot. And I think next year it's going to be, again, completely different of a setup. Next year we're going to use a lot more IP, networking, power over Ethernet stuff.
There's a good question. Networking. Do you need your own separate network?
In the world of IP that we're moving toward, it will be the standard. And a lot of people will go, what? You got to be kidding me. So when people go out and live stream concerts, what a lot of people will do is they'll get a hardware-based switcher, like a vMix box. Remember that one big vMix box, and it has a handle on it, and you put it in a case, and it has wheels, and you go on a plane, and you go to Texas, and you live stream a concert, and then you come back. And that was what they were built for. But now what's happening is people are bringing their laptops, literally, and it's more than enough powerful to stream a 1080p stream, let alone just audio or whatever you're doing. So when in the world where a laptop is your switcher now, whether you're running OBS, XSplit, Wirecast, or vMix, now you can pretty much run everything over a network switch, and network switches can be PoE, power over Ethernet, and they can actually power the cameras. And it ends up being cheaper and better. But is the world ready for all that change yet? It's going to take a while, but next year, that's how I'm going to do everything for sure. And there's a lot of reasons why, which we can dig into.
And we probably won't have the same issues as we did this year. Pretty good fest.
We had a couple small issues. Overall, it was really a great stream. We streamed for about 8 hours, maybe 12 hours. No, it was probably more like 8 hours.
Probably between 8 and 10. I mean, Steve was there longer, but.
And we'll talk about that too, because when you're live streaming a concert or a festival, it is kind of festival season, right? It's all these
festivals are becoming so popular,
and they're all live streaming.
Yep, and they're all outdoors for the most part.
Yes.
So lighting is something that you really have to take into consideration when live
such a pain,
streaming an
wasn't
outdoor
it?
concert. Yes. We had to tweak the cameras every 2 hours or so,
Oh my
especially as it
gosh.
got later on in the day. The light was just going all over the place. but it's doable. Do you want to switch things up and do something fun?
Yes, let's do something fun.
Okay, so something we do on all of our Facebook Live shows is a Facebook Live reaction question where we are able to get a response about a question from our audience viewers via the emojis.
Yes.
So you pose a question and you say press heart for this answer, press haha for that answer, or whatever options you choose. So it is Game of Thrones season 7 premiere was last night.
Yep.
We're just assuming that most geeks out there, along with us, tuned in. Here's the question of the day. Will Cersei marry Euron? Euron was the crazy uncle of, what's his face? Oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank.
Something Greyjoy.
No, all I can think is Reek. Oh my gosh.
My gosh. Theon Greyjoy.
The poor Theon.
Yes.
Calling him Reek. So, will Cersei marry Euron after he brings her the gift she can't refuse?
Oh, yes. I can't wait for that.
So, if you want to say yes, she's going to marry him, press heart if you're watching on Facebook. If you want to say no, press haha.
Or if you're watching on YouTube, just give us your response in the chat. This is just something for those in the podcast who have ever heard or seen about this. It's called a Facebook Live reaction, and it is one of the best ways to get reactions from your audience. And it only works through Facebook. I see we're already getting some ha-has. I think people are on the side that she will not marry him.
Yeah, let's be honest. That bee just wants to kill everyone.
Yes, she is quite a killer for sure.
Quite a killer for sure. She should probably seek therapy. So that's just a fun way that we invoke audience engagement for those of you out there looking for some tips regarding that.
And it looks like William Bacon here from Digitel saying, a dumb switch works for connected cameras, joysticks. Plug and play. And here goes Emily Richards. Arya's going to kill her before she gets the chance. That's hilarious. So it looks like, we got some votes for definitely Cersei going to
Just a quick little plug right here. If you guys are listening to our recorded podcast, wondering how we are getting answers to questions, we are also live streaming our podcast to Facebook and YouTube. So you could tune into that if you find us on Facebook and YouTube, StreamGeeks, if you want to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, there's an interesting workflow that we've set up. I'll just, if you missed episode 1 or 2, we live stream to YouTube, Facebook, record the audio, upload to a podcasting site, which goes to iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and SoundCloud. So it's quite a nice workflow, and something that I want to talk about at some point, which is those people who have podcasts, how can they add live streaming? And then those of us who have live streaming, we're kind of like the younger generation, we're just doing live streaming. Don't forget about all those podcast listeners out there who just want to go ahead and download their podcast for the day and listen with
They
their
don't have time
earbuds.
to sit there and watch all the time, or they don't want to see our faces. Can't blame you. Since we're on the topic of Game of Thrones, this leads us to another segment, our live video moment of the week. It's Game of Thrones theme today.
And now it's time for our live video moment of the week.
That's our live video moment. And here it is here, a little clip from a cool show.
Hoping to reclaim the Iron Islands from their deranged uncle Euron.
This just goes to
Meanwhile,
show you that
Ilaria
you can make a live streaming show about whatever your passion is.
I know.
If you're obsessed with Game of Thrones, go ahead and make a live, reaction show about it.
Here's their website, fan-sided, which I really think is cool.
Winter
It's,
is coming.
Called winteriscoming.com.
.net, actually.
Or .net?
Just in case.
Okay. I think .com
It's these
might
two
go to
guys
.net.
sitting here drinking a beer talking about what happened on Game of Thrones. Like, I want to hang out with them.
Yeah, that's a cool one. So Game of Thrones, everyone's talking about it. It was such a good episode.
I was a little disappointed. I'm not gonna lie, but I think it was just eager.
You're eager to see
I'm
more.
a violent seeker. No, I didn't want more fighting, but I just wanted more, I think.
Yeah, there was there were no cliffhangers or reveals. It was very much like, all right, we're back. Now we're back in the world of Game of Thrones.
Exactly. It was just kind of like, we're back.
What was the cliffhanger? Was basically
the
very end where she was like talking
Spoiler
to
alert.
Tiernan or whatever, and at the very end, the Dragon Queen was just like, she was looking at a giant chessboard.
Yes.
And so was Circe was looking at a giant chessboard.
They were.
And so they're both plotting out who's going to kill who. And she just goes, "Are you ready to get started?"
Yeah. Yes.
That was cool.
And I even turned to my husband. I turned to Steve, and I was like, right before that she was going to say that, I knew she was going to say that. I knew she was going to say, "Shall we begin?"
Yeah.
It's like,
Shall we begin?
I'm ready.
And it was cool with all the dragons. She was back home. It's interesting to think of like a castle.
I didn't
that's not
expect
being...
her homeland to look like that. I expected it to look more like southern and warm and flowers and stuff. But I forget things that were all the way back from season 1.
Oh my gosh, I know. It was season 7, right?
Yeah. All right, so back to streaming, because I know you guys are here for streaming. Do you want to go on to shows to watch?
Shows to watch. What
now we're
here?
back to concert.
Oh yes,
themed.
concert theme streaming.
Do we have a clip for shows to watch?
No.
Okay. Well.
Oh. We have viral video moment of the week.
Okay. Sorry. We did mostly shows that we know about, but I was searching YouTube to see if you could watch any free concerts live. And it turns out you can. Katy Perry is having a live special on YouTube.
Wow.
It's called the Katy Perry Live Special. Will take you inside of her world, revealing the experiences and emotions she poured into her all-new soul-bearing music on the eve of her highly anticipated album launch.
Oh, so she's using live streaming to launch her album. Nice.
It's very interesting, and you're going to see more of this. For example, Kevin Hart just got signed with YouTube to do some sort of live show.
Nice.
Something about like...
comedy, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's comedy. It's like people jumping into a taxi with him. He's like pranking people. Ellen DeGeneres is another one that was signed to YouTube. So these big names are getting signed to YouTube for live shows.
Interesting. And YouTube has the mustard to do like television quality 1080p or 4K content. Whereas, I don't know if you guys have been following, Facebook's still on 720, but the scalability is incredible. And Facebook has just launched their television app. And YouTube's had a television app for a long time. YouTube's CEO, I cannot remember her name, has said that the numbers of people watching the YouTube television app are very promising, and they think that they can increase their overall viewership 20 to 30%, which, if you can imagine the scalability of something like that.
Yeah, that is crazy. All right, moving on to branding quote of the week.
Branding quote of the week
I have two.
Go ahead.
And they might need a little bit of explanation, and they're not from VIP people, okay? So don't call me out on that.
Okay, random.
So the first one is, I just think, certainly for live music, it should look as good as it sounds, by Adam Ant.
I like that. And that goes along with the question. We have interviewed a lot of people in the industry. One of the guys we interviewed, Michael Dawson from EventStream Canada.
I was thinking about him this whole time I was brainstorming for the show.
He does a lot of concerts and big shows. He's one of the big name guys. And I asked him, is there any way to basically transport the audience looking at an iPad with like really good headphones on, on their kitchen? Is there any way to make them feel as if they are at the show? And I think he said it's, you really can't replicate the being there 100%.
That speaks to our next quote, and they kind of go hand in hand. The next quote is, there's nothing better than live music. It's raw energy, and energy feeds the soul, by Danny Jones.
Wow.
How do you translate that energy that you get from live streaming, that you get from live music into the digital online world? And that's a challenge.
It's such a challenge. And we've had this conversation on our PTZ Optics show before. And one of the things that Michael said that I thought was really kind of went along with all of this is he said he'd rather have another camera shot than a 4K versus 1080 or something, or 720 versus 1080. He's like, you're kind of splitting hairs when you're talking about resolution. Like, it'll look good. People are looking on their phones, their iPads, even if it's 720. What he'd rather have is 2 more cameras, that backstage
Exactly.
shot,
That's what I'm thinking. It might be more important to capture maybe close up of the fingers on the keyboard, behind the scenes shot of the drummer and whatnot. So that might be the key to maybe even bringing more of an experience. It's a different kind of experience because you're not going to see those close-ups at a live concert where you might be able to live streaming. So there's a trade-off. Now, being there, of course, you're with the other audience members, which brings this like euphoric feeling of like
now
enjoyment.
that part, and I'm glad you mentioned that, the kind of euphoric energy in the room. How do we replicate that part of it? And you can see below that we are pulling in live chats. And we are doing live audience engagements with Facebook Live reactions. So, and I remember the first live stream I ever watched online, and I think people are still having that first experience. Like, they don't know that how much this is actually available and happening. Like, you don't even have to go to Bonnaroo anymore. You can just watch it from home for free, I believe. They might have to charge a little bit nowadays. But I remember watching a Ryan Adams show, and I'm on my television or my computer or something, and literally there's a Twitter feed on the side, and the people are tweeting in, hey, sound guy, like, you know, turning up the mic on the left, and they're listening to the Twitter feed. So like there is this world of audience engagement that doesn't even really exist when you're there at the show. You can't like, if you're at the show, you're not going to be looking at your Twitter feed and the concert at the same time.
Right.
So you do get a little bit more of a community aspect, but it's digital. It's not really like
different. But to speak to that, no, I think it's also important in a different way because you have the audience that's there live at your concert, but then you're also engaging so many other people that wouldn't have otherwise been able to be involved in the concert at all.
So they want to feel involved.
Exactly.
So you got to help them get to that next step. And I think the conversation can't be how do you replicate the on-site experience, because you can't.
Right.
But how do you take it to 95% of that experience if possible? And I think you can actually take it visually beyond what someone can see at the last row and take them backstage and take them to those shots. So you can actually take them further in some respects. Plus, you know, this huge audience engagement thing with Facebook Live and all these things. So there's a lot of benefits. And like you said, some people, they're just not going to be able to go otherwise.
And it's another way to make more money, essentially, if you want to think of it like that, because you could maybe you make the live streaming version half the price of a ticket to actually be there. You're still going to profit from a sold out concert if you're going to go ahead and, you know, charge people for Taylor Swift concerts $50 to watch online.
Maybe Taylor Swift won't even go do concerts anymore. She'll just like literally be at her studio at home and just like sell 1 million tickets. I wouldn't see why she wouldn't do that. There's so much out there. But yeah, no, I mean, you're never going to replace the live audience, and people are going to want that. They want to really see their favorite artist in person.
That's true. I know. I'm like that with my Jesse James girl. There's nothing like seeing her live. This kind of talking about monetization leads us to the random tech fact of the week.
Okay. The random tech fact of the
searching.
Tech fact of the week.
There we go.
Speaking to the point of how do we make money off of our live streams, off of our live streaming concerts, we want to make it private, you know, pay-per-view. Well, there's a number of private CDNs that allow you to, you know, password protect your concerts.
Yes.
Just here on paper, I have Decast, StreamMonkey, and Castio.
Yes.
All are options to do that.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting thought because if you are going to monetize and make money, you can't really use Facebook and YouTube that much because it can get out there, the link can get out there, and then monetizing your private stream is pretty much, you know, it's done. You know, you can't really go out and do that anymore. So you could password protect your own website. There's a lot of things you can do. But what Decast and StreamMonkey and other places do is they literally host your stream soup to nuts. So you don't stream to Facebook or YouTube. You stream to them, and then they can allow you to have it streamed, you know, to, let's say, 100,000 people or kind of pay for the bandwidth.
Exactly. And I'm using Decast for a big concert, and I'm scared to say it because she never answered me back. So I guess if I could.
Yeah, you probably so Tess is doing a giant live concert for a huge rock band, but we can't say who until you get approval to really say who.
I didn't get permission to actually say who it was. I was hoping to before this show, but I'm really excited for it. And two things. The Decast was really important for the client because it gave them the confidence that the stream won't be compromised quality-wise because we're paying for the proper bandwidth. It
They
gave them the
wanted to pay
password
for it,
protection
yeah.
that they wanted. Something cool about it's the first live stream that's going to be sent to hearing aids
Oh, for older folks.
for older folks because it's an
classic
older,
rock.
it's a classic rock band. Which is
Cool.
interesting that this is something that's starting to be a real
I
thought
know,
about
right?
option for,
Even
big
older
name bands. They're
big name
willing
bands.
to reach certain people who wouldn't otherwise be able to make it to their concerts
Yeah.
via live streaming.
So, and that's really interesting because I think when you're talking about elderly people with hearing aids, you're probably not wondering, like, should we do a Facebook Live reaction question, or are they going to be, like, in the chat room?
They don't even want
freaking
video
out?
for this.
They don't
They're
even want video,
only
they just wanna-
concerned about audio, which does make things a lot less expensive for those of you
For the
wondering
bandwidth.
for the bandwidth. If
Yeah.
you're just doing audio, it cuts your price in half right
Wow.
then and there.
That's good. So for concert streaming, you could just stream the audio. Personally, if it was up to me, I would want to see the band, and I would want to see backstage, and I would want to see the keyboard and everything. And that's where, a bunch of PTZ Optics cameras or a bunch of cameramen, and it becomes a bigger thing. In fact, what would be kind of cool is to just turn this monitor around and just show people what. Now, of course, if you're on the podcast, you're not seeing this, but for those people on Facebook and YouTube, I'll just show you this. This is kind of what it looks like from a streaming perspective, what I'm kind of looking at. So we're looking at a giant screen, and
Basically, with most streaming softwares, you have a preview and then an outgoing shot. The preview is whatever you want to have on next, and the outgoing is whatever is live on your show. And that's what we're displaying here on our streaming software interface. Below, we have a bunch of different inputs.
there's a bunch of inputs and outputs, and this just gives you an idea of what it looks like. You basically, if you've got 100 cameras, you've got 100 little previews of live cameras, and you can switch between them and just display which one you want to go live. And I just thought I'd show that really quickly. I don't remember why, but that is just a little look at behind the scenes of what goes into producing what you're seeing on Facebook and YouTube. It's usually some type of piece of software where you can pick cameras and titles and overlays. And, live streaming music concerts is really, really fun. Let's show a couple more clips, Tess, and we can kind of respond to the clips of what we streamed last week.
Are they going to get audio from this? Is it music or just?
It's just going to be, this is just going to be
Alright, we're
clips
gonna-
we'll talk over.
work on our
Can you do it upside down? So here is, there's a camera, so that's zooming in to this is just a whole list of clips. Some of these we were taking for fun, but you can see we usually go out with 2 or 3 cameras that are robotic because we've got a small crew. We can't hire actual cameramen with, like the really high-end
The
people
budget
have.
gets really high if you're going to do that. If you're a one-man show, a two-man show like we are, you're going to need these type of cameras.
Yeah, you're going to want to have... Oh, this is me flying a drone. So you can actually bring live footage in from a drone into your concert. And that's awesome for having the ability to fly the drone up really high. Chris Ripka's asking if we're using vMix. Yes, Chris, we're using vMix. And we actually had the live drone footage of the band, and it was a big festival, so we flew it up in the sky, and you could see all the hundreds of thousands of
It
people.
added to the production quality.
There weren't hundreds of thousands of people at this show, but if you did, it's really kind of a cool way to do that.
Especially to show, your viewers what's going on at the show, how many people are there, what's the grounds look like, so they can put themselves in that position. And that's where kind of having a lot of different camera angles and shots is kind of ideal for live streaming concert.
You got to have, I would say, at least 2 cameras, and
At
we
least
could kind
2.
of mention the magic of 2 cameras. That's our setup there. You can see Tess is operating the cameras. I'm up on the stage mounting this. This is our behind-the-scenes camera, and which added so much production value
Yeah.
to show the drummer. Like, it was right above the drummer, and it looked down.
It was really cool.
It was so much fun.
Basically, for those of you, because when I first got this job, I didn't even know what a PTZ camera is. We may have some really, beginners listening on podcasts. PTZ camera, pan, tilt, and zoom camera. So, this camera allows you to do all those things controlled by a remote. or you can purchase other things like a joystick. We have applications that allow you to control the cameras, but you can also set presets on these type of cameras. So you just press a button and the camera automatically zooms and pans or tilts to whatever position you want it to. And it cuts out people, to be honest.
Yes.
It allows you to just
there's the joystick
do
there.
a one-man show, really.
And we mentioned this very at the beginning, the presets, how we had to redo them for every band. So hopefully if you're live streaming a band, what you would want to do is try to figure out where's the main singer going to be, where's the guitarist, the bassist, the drummer. And what you can do is you can set up a little notepad next to the joystick and write down the presets. So preset 1 is the singer, and preset 2 is the bassist, and preset 3 is the drummer.
Simple tip, but writing stuff down really is important and gets the job done for you.
You can see in this video, I think coming up, Tess is working with, so basically one of the things you can do is you can split up the tasks. So you can have one person doing the video production, so they're actually choosing which cameras are going live and stuff like that, and that's what you did most of the times, Tess. And then you can have another person operating the cameras, which is usually the best case scenario. But once you go to IP, you can actually have the cameras automate control through the streaming software from vMix, or TriCaster can do it. So you could actually go out and almost do it all by yourself, which is the dream, but you would have to do everything over networking. So I think that still to this day, I think that it's really good to have probably about 2 people, one for switching and streaming and one for the camera operation.
Plus, you're not, lonely and bored there by yourself for 8 hours.
And
it's nice to have someone to talk to.
With setup and everything. There were some really great bands there. Now, one of the things, another tip here that I'm thinking of is that we basically just handled the streaming of the media, and there was a completely separate audio guy. And when you go out and live stream a concert or a music festival, audio is so intensive and it's such a professional level thing. I think a lot of people will come to find that there's already an audio guy there. And you're just going to go in and say, hey, I've got the cameras, I've got the streaming gear, I'm going to stream this to YouTube and Facebook for you, but you go ahead and handle just all the video.
Exactly. For the concert that I'm doing in August, we're basically working hand in hand with the audio guy. That's kind of going to be your number one contact. For the event, we're being set up right next to the audio sound mixer, so we can work together. So streaming and the audio mixer guy or girl, that's kind of your right-hand man. They go hand in hand.
Chris Ripka is jumping in here. See, Tess, we're finally getting some comments.
Woo, people like us.
I remember our first show, we were like, okay, there's no one in the chat. This is normally when we would take some questions. But Chip is saying he loves the concept of StreamGeeks, and he'd love to upgrade to PTZ optic systems. He still uses jib, arms, and dollies, but it all works. Loves the project.
Thanks, Chris.
Jibs, arms, and dollies, those are basically where you put a really, really nice camera on a dolly. It literally flies across above the crowd and everything and zooms in.
Hey, that sounds pretty
physically. Cool. It is really cool. And that's really high-end stuff, too. That's some serious high-quality stuff. I think most of the people we work with, of course, the stream that you're doing is about as high-end as it gets.
Well, thanks.
But we can't tell anyone what it is yet, so it's kind of like
It's going
teaser.
to be branded by StreamGeeks, so I'm going to be rocking all my StreamGeeks stuff.
There's going to be pictures and stuff, and if you probably know the band, you might figure it out, but who knows? We can't talk about it. So yeah, these are just some clips again. The backstage camera made this. So every year, I was saying we've done this for 3 years, this festival that we stream. The first year was 2 cameras with an Epiphan Pearl, which is a dedicated hardware switcher. The next year, I used my laptop with vMix because I definitely was thinking, computer streaming is the way to go. I was able to use Dropbox and all the stuff on my computer, and I liked it a lot more. And now this year, we still brought a laptop. We brought a bigger Focusrite, and we brought a third camera, and the third camera was behind the band. And that made all of the difference. It looked so cool when you could switch to, when it was just an acoustic person, literally you could see the crowd and just behind the back of your head and the guitar of the person strumming guitar, and it really turned out great.
You know what else was cool to have? Sometimes we would shy away from the band themselves and also just focus in on something that some of the audience members were doing. I felt like that really added to
That was
the
fun.
whole feel of it.
To have the ability to, pan the camera around.
We caught these kids playing with the big bubble machine. Remember that? And we just panned over to them, and it made for great intermission.
There's the HD SDI and RS-232 cabling. So for those of you getting into streaming, HD SDI is a very high quality video cable that has a locking connector on the back of a camera, so it's very reliable. And then RS-232 is a camera control cable that plugs into joysticks, and you can daisy chain them. But from what the world is going towards, it seems like we're getting very close to going everything over IP. A single Ethernet cable can do your video, your audio, power the camera, and control it.
Saves you a lot of time and a lot of wires, that's for sure.
And the Ethernet cable is cheaper than HD SDI and RS-232. Here's a part I want to take a second to talk about, and we do this right now. This is the vMix playlist feature where you can pick 3 or 4 cameras and just have them rotate and fade on a given amount of time.
That's something good to do, before each set up particular camera shots. I know we did one on the bassist and the electric guitarist, like one on the singer, one wide shot. Set them on a playlist, press go once the performance begins, and you essentially don't have to switch cameras at all. Now that's with this particular software. Of course, that's depending on which software you use, but it's just a cool option to think about when you are trying to do these types of productions, on
especially
low manpower.
An all-day stream that we did.
Yeah, if you have to pee.
Yeah, you can if you have to, and one of the other things that we have some videos on this on our PTZ Optics channel is that if the cameras were on the network, which they weren't this time, that's the next big upgrade we're definitely going to do next year, is that you can actually have preset positions like zoomed in all the way to the strummer and zoomed in all the way to the piano player and have those in the playlist. So the cameras will actually move by themselves. And so if you're a one-man show and you've got 2 or 3 cameras, you can have like 10 or 20 or 30 or 100 different camera angles with the robotic cameras and have them in a playlist and decide how long you want them to fade and back and forth. And learning this stuff can save you so much time, especially if you're going to have 1 or 2 people. You need to know these tricks, or you're going to have a lot of trouble. The other thing, Tess, you started talking about a little bit was trying to adjust the cameras the whole time because the lighting's changing all day.
That was definitely a challenge.
Oh my gosh. So we've talked a lot about color matching and trying to get the colors right, but when you're outside and the light of day is changing all the time on you, the best thing to change is the iris.
We kept opening up the iris a little bit more, like every 2 hours or so.
Yeah, it's on our joystick. I was just looking for our joystick. I'm not sure where that went.
At some point, it can get kind of fuzzy, though.
It can. You have to be careful. Shutter speed is something you probably want to keep standard. So if you can, you want to use aperture priority. So because you're not live streaming sports where there's a ton of motion, but there's fast moving guitars and drumsticks and everything, and it's okay for it to be a little blurry if the drummer is going crazy. But you'd probably want to be 1/30th of a second or 1/60th of a second or 1/120th of a second to look the most natural. So you start there on your shutter speed, and then you adjust your iris throughout the day to let more light in as it gets darker and darker. And that's probably your best thing. And if it gets really dark, then you have to go into wide dynamic range and gain, which if you do too much gain, it gets noisy. But
yeah, hopefully depending on the level of, not experience with the concert, but the size of the production, you might already have adequate lighting set up on the stage and whatnot, that it's not an issue. But if you're doing something that's sort of low budget,
it becomes even harder.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then there's color matching. You can do color
great
grading.
Question, Jim brought up weather.
How
can you be prepared for unexpected weather?
Oh my gosh, that's a good point. We do always have a cabana because usually these summertime festivals, it gets hot out and you at least want shade. But yeah,
luckily we had good weather this year. Have you ever had a rainy day?
I've never had a rainy day. In fact, a lot of times these festivals, not all the time, but a lot of times the festivals will have a rain date. Like this festival that we do locally, if it's raining, they're just like, all right, we'll do it the next day or the next weekend. And that actually did happen where it got bumped a week. But yeah, I guess inclement weather. That's tough. A lot of the cables can stand the inclement weather, and a lot of times, so if you're running microphones to a soundboard, right? There's no one does wireless audio. You can do wireless video, but again, for these things, you probably just want to have hardwired everything. So there is always a cable path from like 100 feet back, where the studio guys sit. There's that booth there, where there's the mixer and everything. Normally, the video guys get to kind of sit next to them. And so you're always under a cabana, and then all the cables are run on like a cable path, whether it's up above or all the way a straight shot with a bunch of mats over it. However it is, usually the cables will withstand rain, and then your technology, you just have to shield as much as possible.
As much as possible.
I've never had to deal with the rain, and that would scare me, actually. I'm not even sure what I would do.
Basically, you're screwed if it rains. No.
That's a great question. And yeah, the weather is tough, but you could probably get great shots of people dancing in the rain and Woodstock-esque mudslides. I
feel like we would have been okay depending on, how bad it got.
I would be pretty scared with our setup in the rain.
Really?
Because we were running all off of a computer, and you don't want a computer to get rain in it. And all of our power strips were on the ground.
Yes,
we would have been screwed if it rained. Sketchy. I'm not going to lie. We would have been... I don't know. I've never really prepared for rain. I'm not gonna lie. So
we get questions about that with our cameras often.
Don't
we have enclosures?
Yes, there's outdoor enclosures.
We do sell outdoor enclosures. Are they ours?
No, they're from a company called Dotworks.
Do we sell them on CRS though?
No.
So we just have one that we recommend.
Yeah, we just recommend them.
There are options then.
There's like a heater blower kit that can go in there because if it's really hot out, it can actually get like a condensation on the glass. So they put a blower inside to blow the air, like air condition the camera.
That's funny.
So what do we have? Branding quote. That was the show.
Covers our segments for this week.
Awesome. So hopefully we gave you guys a lot of good ideas. We showed a lot of clips. And we're gonna have a free course on not church streaming.
Yes, if you're listening to this, then you are going to have access to our free concert streaming course, which we'll announce on a further show how to get that, because we didn't actually post it yet, right?
We'll probably post it in our user group. So if you go to StreamGeeks Facebook page, join our user group, and that's where we're going to put all the kind of cool
Facebook.com/groups/StreamGeeks.
Yeah, I'll put all the coupon codes because I already have like 15 different courses that we offer for free. But the concert one in particular, I think, is one that we can add some special, unique value to when it comes to really learning how to do it. Hi, Nick.
Hi, Nick. That's my
Tara.
sister.
Oh, that's your sister.
She loves the new t-shirt.
That does look good.
So to all of you listening on podcasts, be sure to find us on Facebook at StreamGeeks. And if you want to see our faces, head over to YouTube, StreamGeeks, Facebook, StreamGeeks, everything StreamGeeks. Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And that's the show. Okay, so that did really well on the web captioner did great.
That was a good one.